Mistakes are a part of life, aren't they? They teach us, shape us, and push us to grow. There's a certain kind of mistake that doesn't just challenge you, it holds you back. These are the habits, decisions, and ways of thinking that quietly steal your potential and keep you from reaching the next level. What makes them so dangerous is how easily they can become part of your routine. You might not even realize they're there working against you. But the good news is, once you recognize them, you can change them. Sometimes it's not about working harder or doing more. It's about removing the obstacles you've unknowingly placed in your own way. Success isn't just about the actions you take. It's about the actions you stop taking. By identifying and addressing these mistakes, you can unlock a level of clarity, focus, and progress that's been waiting for you all along. These aren't surface-level mistakes, the kind that are easy to spot and fix. No, these are the deeper habits and thought patterns that quietly shape your decisions, your relationships, and your opportunities. They're the mistakes that go unnoticed because they blend into the background of daily life. But once you shine a light on them, they're impossible to ignore. What we're about to uncover are 6 mistakes that may be holding you back, not just from success, but from the life you want and deserve. These are not meant to be criticisms. They're opportunities for growth. With awareness, you can begin to shift your perspective, adjust your habits, and make meaningful changes that open the door to new possibilities. The first mistake that might be holding you back is failing to take ownership of your life. This is one of the most common and overlooked obstacles to success. When you don't take full responsibility for your actions, your decisions, and your circumstances, you give away your power. It's easy to blame external factors, your upbringing, the economy, your boss, or even just bad luck. But the moment you point the finger elsewhere, you lose control over what happens next. Ownership isn't about taking blame for everything that happens in your life. It's about taking responsibility for how you respond to it. Life will throw challenges your way, unexpected setbacks, difficult people, situations that feel unfair. But how you handle those challenges is entirely up to you. When you shift from a mindset of blame to a mindset of ownership, you reclaim your ability to make choices that move you forward. Many people fall into the trap of waiting for something external to change before they take action. They wait for the perfect timing, the right opportunity, or someone else to come along and fix the situation. But waiting is a passive approach, and it rarely leads to progress. Ownership means recognizing that you are the primary driver of your own life. No one else is coming to save you or make things easier. The results you achieve are a direct reflection of the choices you make. Taking ownership begins with self-awareness. You have to be willing to look at your own habits, beliefs, and behaviors, and ask yourself whether they're helping you or holding you back. It's not always an easy process. Sometimes it means admitting that you've been procrastinating, avoiding tough decisions, or holding on to excuses. But self-awareness is the first step to change. You can't fix what you refuse to acknowledge. Another key part of ownership is self-accountability. When you hold yourself accountable for your goals and commitments, you build trust, not just with others, but with yourself. Every time you follow through on a promise, no matter how small, you reinforce the belief that you are capable and reliable. On the other hand, every time you break a promise or let yourself off the hook, You chip away at that trust. Over time, this pattern can erode your confidence and leave you feeling stuck. Accountability doesn't mean you have to go it alone. In fact, one of the best ways to stay accountable is to involve others. Knowing that someone else is paying attention can be a powerful motivator. But remember, true accountability comes from within. It's not about avoiding guilt or shame, it's about living up to your own potential. Ownership requires letting go of the victim mindset. The victim mindset says that it isn't your fault or that there's nothing you can do. It focuses on what's wrong, what's unfair, and what's out of your control. While it's true that life isn't always fair, dwelling on those things doesn't change them. Ownership shifts the focus to what you can control: your attitude, your decisions, and your actions. It's about finding solutions instead of fixating on problems. One of the most empowering aspects of taking ownership is realizing that mistakes are not failures, they're lessons. When you make a mistake, own it. Don't hide from it or try to shift the blame. Acknowledge what happened, learn from it, and use that knowledge to make better decisions moving forward. Mistakes are inevitable, but how you respond to them is what matters. Taking ownership means setting clear goals and taking intentional action to achieve them. Without goals, it's easy to drift through life, reacting to whatever comes your way instead of actively shaping your future. Ownership is about deciding what you want and then creating a plan to get there. It's about showing up every day, even when it's hard, and doing the work that needs to be done. Sometimes taking ownership means having difficult conversations. It means admitting when you've fallen short, asking for help when you need it, or addressing conflicts head on instead of avoiding them. These conversations aren't easy, but they're necessary for growth. When you take responsibility for your part in a situation, you demonstrate maturity and integrity, which strengthens your relationships and builds trust. Ownership isn't a one-time decision. It's a mindset you have to cultivate every day. It's about being honest with yourself, making intentional choices, and taking responsibility for your own success. It's not always comfortable, but it is always empowering. And you stop waiting for external circumstances to change and start taking ownership of your life. You'll be amazed at what you can accomplish. Second mistake that might be holding you back is clinging to a fixed mindset. Your mindset is the lens through which you view the world, yourself, and your potential. It shapes the way you approach challenges, setbacks, and opportunities. And while a growth mindset can empower you to learn, adapt, and thrive, a fixed mindset can quietly trap you in patterns of fear, self-doubt, and stagnation. A fixed mindset is the belief that your abilities, intelligence, and talents are set in stone. It's the voice that says, this is just the way you are, or that you can't do something because you're not naturally good at it. When you operate from a fixed mindset, failure feels like a reflection of your worth instead of an opportunity to grow. You shy away from challenges, avoid risks, and often settle for less because you believe your limits are permanent. This mindset doesn't always announce itself loudly. It creeps into your thoughts subtly, shaping the decisions you make. Maybe you hesitate to try something new because you're afraid of looking foolish. Or perhaps you dismiss an opportunity because it feels beyond your current capabilities. The fixed mindset isn't just about what you believe, it's about what you avoid and what you miss out on as a result. On the other hand, a growth mindset is the belief that your abilities can be developed through effort, learning, and persistence. It's not about denying your current limitations. It's about recognizing that those limitations aren't fixed. With a growth mindset, challenges become opportunities to improve, mistakes become lessons, and effort becomes the pathway to mastery. It's not about where you are now, it's about where you're willing to go. To shift from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset, you first need to recognize the ways the fixed mindset shows up in your life. Pay attention to the language you use, both internally and externally. Do you find yourself saying that you can't do something or that you're just not good at it? Those statements might feel true in the moment, but they're reflections of a fixed perspective. The truth is, most skills and abilities can be improved with time and effort. One way to counteract a fixed mindset is to reframe challenges as opportunities for growth. Instead of seeing difficulties as obstacles, view them as chances to stretch yourself. If you're struggling to learn a new skill, remind yourself that every expert was once a beginner. Effort and persistence are what separate those who grow from those who stay stuck. By embracing the process of learning, you free yourself from the fear of failure. Failure is one of the biggest triggers for a fixed mindset. When you're stuck in this mindset, failure feels like a verdict. It confirms your worst fears about your limitations. But with a growth mindset, failure becomes feedback. It's not about who you are. It's about what you can do differently next time. Every mistake you make is an opportunity to refine your approach, deepen your understanding, and build resilience. Feedback from others is another area where the fixed mindset can hold you back. If you see feedback as criticism, you'll resist it, avoiding opportunities to improve. But with a growth mindset, feedback is a gift. It's insight that can help you grow. Instead of taking feedback personally, view it as a tool for progress. Ask yourself what you can learn from it or how you can use the information to get better. The fixed mindset often thrives in comparison. You might look at someone else's success and think that you could never do that or that they're just naturally gifted. But comparison is a trap. It assumes that success is a fixed destination rather than a journey. The truth is, everyone's path is different. And what you see as someone else's talent is often the result of years of hard work, practice, and persistence. Instead of comparing yourself to others, focus on your own progress and the steps you can take to improve. A growth mindset requires you to embrace discomfort. Growth happens at the edge of your comfort zone, where things feel uncertain and challenging. It's tempting to stay in the familiar, but that's where the fixed mindset thrives. When you push yourself to take on new challenges, even when they feel uncomfortable, you expand your capacity and build the confidence to tackle even bigger goals. Surrounding yourself with the right people can help shift your mindset. Spend time with people who encourage growth, challenge your assumptions, and support your development. Their belief in your potential can reinforce your own belief in what's possible. Likewise, be mindful of those who perpetuate fixed mindset thinking, whether through criticism, negativity, or their own limiting beliefs. The fixed mindset isn't something you overcome once and for all. It's a pattern of thinking that can resurface, especially in moments of doubt or difficulty. The key is to recognize it when it appears and consciously choose a growth-oriented perspective. When you let go of the fixed mindset and embrace growth, you open yourself up to a world of opportunity. You stop seeing your abilities as fixed and start seeing them as flexible, adaptable, and capable of incredible expansion. You become less afraid of failure and more excited about progress. And most importantly, you take back control over your potential, realizing that it's not predetermined. It's something you shape every single day. The third mistake that might be holding you back is the habit of procrastination. Procrastination is one of those quiet thieves of time and potential that sneaks into your day disguised as harmless delays and distractions. It's not always loud or obvious. It doesn't always look like outright avoidance. Sometimes it's as subtle as convincing yourself that tomorrow is a better time to start, or that you just need a little more preparation before you can take the first step. But over time, those small delays add up, and they create a pattern that keeps you stuck. Procrastination isn't just about putting things off. It's about the underlying thoughts and emotions that drive that behavior. Fear often plays a big role. Fear of failure, fear of making the wrong decision, or even fear of success can cause you to delay taking action. Sometimes it's perfectionism that holds you back. The belief that if you can't do something perfectly, it's better not to do it at all. Other times it's overwhelm. The task feels so big and so daunting that you don't even know where to begin. One of the most common ways procrastination manifests is through distractions. You might sit down to work on something important, but before you know it, you're caught up in tasks that feel productive, but aren't actually moving you forward. You reorganize your workspace, check your email, or decide to do just a little research. These activities create the illusion of progress, but they're really just a way of avoiding the real work. Another sneaky form of procrastination is waiting for the right moment. You tell yourself that you'll start when you feel more motivated, when the timing is better, or when the conditions are perfect. But the truth is, there is no perfect moment. Waiting for the right time is just another way of delaying action. Progress doesn't come from waiting. It comes from starting, even when the circumstances aren't ideal. The cost of procrastination is often greater than it seems. It doesn't just delay your goals. It creates stress, guilt, and a sense of being stuck. The longer you put something off, the more it weighs on your mind. And the more it weighs on your mind, the harder it becomes to take action. This creates a cycle of avoidance and anxiety that can feel impossible to break. Breaking the habit of procrastination starts with understanding why you're procrastinating in the first place. Ask yourself, what's really holding you back? Is it fear, perfectionism, overwhelm? Identifying the root cause allows you to address it directly. If fear of failure is the issue, remind yourself that failure is a part of growth and that every mistake is a stepping stone to success. If it's perfectionism, challenge the belief that everything needs to be perfect before you can move forward. Often good enough is all you need to start. One effective way to combat procrastination is to break tasks into smaller, more manageable pieces. When a task feels overwhelming, it's easy to avoid it entirely. But when you break it down into bite-sized steps, it becomes much more approachable. Instead of thinking about the entire project, focus on the next step. What's one small action you can take today to move the needle? Once you complete that step, you'll build momentum, and the task will start to feel less daunting. Creating a schedule can help. Set specific deadlines for each step of your task and hold yourself accountable to them. Deadlines create a sense of urgency and help you prioritize your time. Be realistic about what you can accomplish in a given day and give yourself room to adjust as needed. The key is to stay consistent. Even small, steady progress adds up over time. Here's a rule that I set for myself, and I encourage you to do the same. It's the 2-minute rule. If a task can be completed in 2 minutes or less, do it immediately. This simple rule helps you avoid letting small tasks pile up and keeps you in the habit of taking action. For larger tasks, commit to working on them for just 2 minutes. Often, the hardest part is getting started. Once you've begun, it's much easier to keep going. Eliminating distractions is critical to overcoming procrastination. Create an environment that supports focus and minimizes interruptions. Set boundaries with the people in your life. Sometimes you have to designate specific times for deep work. The more you can remove those external distractions, the easier it becomes to stay on track. Procrastination thrives on inaction. So the most important step is simply to start. Even if it's not perfect, even if you're not completely ready, taking that first step creates momentum. Action breeds clarity, and clarity breeds progress. Over time, as you develop the habit of starting, procrastination loses its grip on you. The key to overcoming procrastination is consistency. It's not about changing everything overnight. It's about taking small, deliberate actions every day. The more you practice showing up and doing the work, the more you'll find that the tasks you once avoided become manageable and even rewarding. Procrastination is a habit, but so is action. And you get to choose which one shapes your life. The fourth mistake that might be holding you back is seeking external validation instead of trusting yourself. It's natural to want approval from others. After all, we're social creatures, and feeling accepted and appreciated can be deeply rewarding. But when your sense of self-worth becomes tied to what other people think, you give away your power. Instead of living authentically, you start making decisions based on what will please others, even if it comes at the expense of your own happiness and growth. Relying on external validation can create a cycle that's hard to break. You might find yourself chasing compliments, recognition, or applause, believing that these things will make you feel fulfilled. And while they might provide a temporary boost, they never last. Validation from others is fleeting. The moment you stop receiving it, you're left searching for the next dose. And that search can keep you stuck in patterns that don't serve you. One of the biggest dangers of seeking external validation is that it can lead to inauthenticity. When you're focused on pleasing others, you might downplay your true opinions, or conform to expectations that don't align with who you really are. Over time, this disconnect can leave you feeling lost, frustrated, or even resentful. You might achieve success in the eyes of others, but it won't feel meaningful because it's not truly yours. Another issue with external validation is that it's often inconsistent and unpredictable. What one person admires, another might criticize. Trying to satisfy everyone is an impossible task, and the more you rely on others for approval, the more vulnerable you become to their opinions. Your confidence rises and falls based on external factors that you can't control, leaving you in a constant state of uncertainty. To break free from the need for external validation, you must learn to trust yourself. This begins with self-awareness, understanding who you are, what you value, and what you truly want. Take time to reflect on your goals, your strengths, and your passions. Ask yourself whether the choices you're making align with your own vision for your life, or if they're driven by a desire to gain approval from others. Building self-trust requires setting boundaries. When you constantly seek validation, it's easy to say yes to things you don't really want to do, or agree with ideas that don't resonate with you. Setting boundaries means learning to say no when something doesn't align with your values or priorities. It's about protecting your time, energy, and authenticity, even if it means disappointing others in the short term. Another way to strengthen your self-trust is to focus on intrinsic rewards rather than extrinsic ones. Instead of measuring your success by external recognition, measure it by how it feels to you. Did you put in your best effort? Did you stay true to your values? Did you grow or learn something new? These internal markers of success are far more fulfilling than any amount of applause or approval from others. Self-validation is a skill you can develop with practice. Start by acknowledging your own accomplishments, no matter how small they might seem. Celebrate your wins, reflect on your progress, and give yourself credit for the effort you put in. When you build the habit of recognizing your own value, you become less reliant on others to do it for you. A big part of breaking free from external validation is letting go of the fear of judgment. The truth is, no matter what you do, someone will always have an opinion. Trying to please everyone is not only exhausting, it's impossible. Instead of worrying about what others might think, focus on living in alignment with your own values and goals. When you're true to yourself, the opinions of others matter less because you know you're doing what's right for you. Surrounding yourself with supportive people can make a difference. Seek out relationships with those who appreciate you for who you are, not just for what you do or achieve. True friends will encourage you to trust yourself and follow your own path, even if it doesn't align with their preferences or expectations. These relationships can serve as a reminder that your worth isn't tied to external approval. It's important to recognize that seeking validation is often rooted in self-doubt. When you don't fully believe in yourself, you look to others for reassurance. Building self-confidence takes time, but it starts with taking small, courageous steps outside your comfort zone. Each time you act in alignment with your values and priorities, even in the face of doubt or criticism, you strengthen your belief in yourself. Finally, remember that you are the ultimate authority on your life. While feedback and input from others can be valuable, they are just that, input. You get to decide how much weight to give them and whether they align with your own vision. By trusting yourself and staying grounded in your own sense of purpose, you create a foundation of confidence that can't be shaken by external opinions. When you stop seeking external validation and start trusting yourself, you reclaim your power. You begin to make decisions based on what truly matters to you rather than what will please others. You become more authentic, more confident, and more aligned with your purpose. And that kind of inner strength is far more valuable than any amount of external approval. Next, the fifth mistake that might be holding you back is undervaluing consistency. Consistency is one of the most underestimated drivers of success. It's not flashy, it's not glamorous, and it doesn't deliver instant results. But over time, consistency is what separates those who make progress from those who stay stuck. The mistake many people make is focusing too much on intensity, working hard in short bursts, and not enough on steady, sustainable effort. Think about this. Success isn't usually the result of one big life-changing action. It's the result of small, deliberate actions repeated consistently over time. The key is showing up and doing the work, day in and day out, even when it feels slow or unexciting. But when you undervalue consistency, you risk falling into the trap of starting and stopping, which keeps you in a cycle of frustration and stagnation. One reason people undervalue consistency is that it often feels too small to matter. You might think that one workout doesn't make a difference, or that writing for just 15 minutes today isn't worth it. But consistency is like compounding interest. Each small effort builds on the one before it, creating momentum that leads to exponential growth over time. Skipping one workout or one day of practice might not seem like a big deal, but when it becomes a habit, it slows your progress and keeps you from building the momentum you need to achieve your goals. Another challenge with consistency is the lack of immediate results. In a world that values quick wins and instant gratification, it can be hard to stay motivated when your efforts don't pay off right away. But the truth is, meaningful progress takes time. The results of consistency are often invisible at first, but they're happening beneath the surface, just like a seed growing roots before it breaks through the soil. Trusting the process, even when you don't see immediate results, is what allows you to reap the rewards later on. Distractions are another enemy of consistency. It's easy to get caught up in chasing new ideas, opportunities, or goals, abandoning your current efforts in favor of something that seems more exciting. But starting over again and again prevents you from ever making meaningful progress. Success comes not from doing many things once, but from doing a few things consistently. It's about picking your priorities, committing to them, and staying focused. One way to build consistency is to create routines that support your goals. When you make something a habit, it becomes automatic, requiring less mental energy and discipline. If your goal is to improve your fitness, setting a specific time each day to work out can help you stay consistent. If you're trying to write a book, committing to a daily word count, no matter how small, keeps you moving forward. The key is to make these routines realistic and sustainable so that they're easier to stick with over the long term. Accountability is another powerful tool for consistency. When you share your goals with someone else, you're more likely to follow through. Knowing that someone else is paying attention to your progress creates an added layer of motivation. You don't want to let them down, and that extra pressure can help you stay consistent, even on the days when you're tempted to skip. It's important to track your progress. Keeping a record of your efforts helps you see how far you've come. Each small win adds to your sense of accomplishment and reinforces your commitment to staying consistent. Tracking makes it easier to spot patterns, identify what's working, and adjust your approach as needed. Consistency isn't about being perfect. There will be days when you miss a workout, break a habit, or fall short of your goal. What matters is how quickly you get back on track. One mistake doesn't define your progress. What defines it is your ability to keep going. Think of consistency as a long-term game. It's not about what you do on one day. It's about what you do most days, over weeks, months, and years. Another important aspect of consistency is setting clear boundaries to protect your time and energy. If you allow distractions, commitments, or other people's priorities to take over, it becomes much harder to stay consistent with your own goals. Learn to say no to things that don't align with your priorities and create an environment that supports your focus. Small changes can make a big difference. Mindset plays a huge role in consistency. It's easy to lose motivation when progress feels slow or when setbacks occur. But consistency requires you to stay committed, even when the excitement fades. Remind yourself of your long-term vision and why your goal matters to you. On the hard days, focus on the process rather than the outcome. Instead of thinking about how far you still have to go, celebrate the fact that you're showing up and doing the work. Ultimately, consistency is about trust. Trusting the process, trusting yourself, and trusting that small efforts add up over time. It's about building a foundation that supports steady, sustainable growth, rather than chasing quick wins or relying on bursts of motivation. When you value consistency, you unlock the power of compound progress, turning small, simple actions into extraordinary results. The sixth mistake that might be holding you back is allowing fear to dictate your decisions. Fear is a natural emotion. It's part of being human. But when fear becomes the driving force behind your choices, it limits your potential and keeps you from pursuing the life you truly want. Whether it's fear of failure, fear of rejection, or even fear of success, this invisible barrier can stop you from taking risks, stepping out of your comfort zone, and achieving your goals. Fear often disguises itself as logic or practicality. You might tell yourself that it's not the right time or that you're not ready yet, when in reality, it's fear holding you back. It's that little voice in your head that whispers, "What if you fail? What will people think?" Fear doesn't just stop you from taking action. It keeps you stuck in patterns of doubt and hesitation, convincing you that staying where you are is safer than moving forward. One of the most common fears is the fear of failure. Nobody likes to fail, but when you let the fear of failure control you, it prevents you from even trying. The irony is, failure is often the very thing that leads to growth, learning, and ultimately, success. Every failure is a lesson, a stepping stone that gets you closer to where you want to be. When you shift your perspective and start seeing failure as feedback rather than a final verdict, you take away its power to paralyze you. Fear of rejection is another major obstacle. The thought of being turned down or judged can be intimidating. But here's the truth. Rejection is a part of life. It doesn't define your worth or your abilities. It's simply a sign that something didn't align, and that's okay. The more you expose yourself to situations where rejection is possible, the more you realize it's not as devastating as it seems. Over time, you build resilience and confidence, making rejection feel less like a roadblock and more like a stepping stone. Fear of success might seem counterintuitive, but it's more common than you might think. Success often comes with change, new responsibilities, higher expectations, and the possibility of standing out. For some people, this can feel overwhelming or even intimidating. The fear of what success might bring can lead to self-sabotage, where you unconsciously hold yourself back from achieving your full potential. Recognizing this fear is the first step to overcoming it. Remind yourself that success doesn't have to be overwhelming. It can be a reflection of your growth and a chance to expand your impact. One of the most effective ways to overcome fear is to take small, deliberate actions toward the very thing you're afraid of. Fear thrives in inaction. The longer you avoid something, the bigger and scarier it becomes in your mind. But when you take even the smallest step, you start to build momentum. Each action chips away at the fear, proving to yourself that you're capable of handling it. If you're afraid of public speaking, start by practicing in front of a trusted friend or recording yourself at home. These small steps gradually build your confidence, making the bigger challenge feel more manageable. Reframing your relationship with fear can be incredibly powerful. Instead of seeing fear as something to avoid, view it as a signal that you're stepping into growth. Fear often shows up when you're on the edge of something meaningful, when you're about to stretch yourself and take a risk that matters. If you're feeling afraid, it's a sign that you're moving beyond your comfort zone, which is exactly where growth happens. Another key to overcoming fear is focusing on the bigger picture. When you're stuck in fear, it's easy to get caught up in worst-case scenarios. But ask yourself, what's the best that could happen? What opportunities might open up if you take the leap? Shifting your focus from what could go wrong to what could go right helps you approach challenges with a sense of possibility rather than dread. Surrounding yourself with supportive people can make a huge difference. Fear often feels bigger when you're facing it alone. Having somebody who believes in you can provide the encouragement and perspective you need to push through. Sometimes just hearing someone say that you can do it is enough to quiet the voice of doubt in your mind. It's important to recognize that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision to act despite it. Even the most successful people feel fear. They've simply learned to move forward anyway. They've trained themselves to trust their abilities and embrace uncertainty as a natural part of growth. Courage is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes. Visualization can be a helpful tool in managing fear. Take a moment to imagine yourself successfully navigating the situation you're afraid of. See yourself delivering a confident presentation, having that difficult conversation, or taking the first step toward a goal. Visualization helps your brain rehearse success, making the actual experience feel less intimidating when the time comes. Finally, remind yourself that fear is temporary, but regret can last a lifetime. The opportunities you miss because of fear don't come back. And the what-ifs can weigh on you far more heavily than the fear ever could. When you feel afraid, ask yourself whether you will regret not taking this chance. The answer can often provide the motivation you need to push through. When you stop letting fear dictate your decisions, you reclaim control over your life. You become more willing to take risks, embrace challenges, and pursue the things that truly matter to you. Fear might always be present, but it doesn't have to hold you back. You have the power to face it, overcome it, and move forward toward the life you want. Mistakes are part of life. They're part of growth. But the ones that we're talking about are different. These mistakes don't just challenge you, they hold you back. They quietly work in the background, shaping your choices and creating barriers that can keep you from reaching your full potential. The key to overcoming them lies in awareness, intentionality, and the willingness to make changes, even when it's uncomfortable. Each of these mistakes, failing to take ownership of your life, clinging to a fixed mindset, procrastination, seeking external validation, undervaluing consistency, and allowing fear to dictate your decisions, represents an opportunity. An opportunity to shift your habits, change your thinking, and reclaim your power. None of these mistakes define you, and none of them are permanent. They're simply patterns that can be recognized and replaced with new, more empowering ones. It's not about fixing everything all at once. Growth doesn't happen overnight. It happens step by step, decision by decision. Each time you choose to take responsibility for your life, embrace a growth mindset, take action instead of procrastinating, trust yourself, stay consistent, or face your fears, you're moving closer to the life you want to create. The changes might feel small in the moment, but over time, they add up to something extraordinary. The question now is, what will you do with this awareness? Will you let these mistakes continue to hold you back, or will you take the first step toward breaking free? The choice is yours, and that's the most empowering part of all. You have the ability to change, to grow, and to become the person you're meant to be. It won't always be easy, but it will always be worth it. The most important thing to remember is this: you don't have to get it perfect. Progress is more important than perfection. Every step forward, no matter how small, is a step in the right direction. Celebrate those steps, learn from the setbacks, and keep going. The life you want isn't as far away as it might seem. It's just on the other side of these barriers. And now that you've identified them, you have the tools to move past them. Mistakes don't have to define your future. They can be the very thing that drives you to grow, evolve, and succeed. The choice is in your hands, and the time to start is now.